Close your eyes and picture the Sahara Desert. Now picture it green. Not a metaphor, not a what if. A real documented chapter of human history when the driest, most brutal place on Earth was a sprawling green savanna, packed with lakes, rivers, hippos, giraffes, and crocodiles. For thousands of years, monsoon rains fell so relentlessly over this land that early humans carved entire settlements into rock shelters shaped by water that hasn't existed there in millennia. Scientists call it the African humid period. It lasted roughly 10,000 years, and in some regions, the rain simply never stopped. But here's the real question, the one nobody asks. If you're a human being with no concrete, no waterproof tarps, no rubber boots, no umbrellas, how do you survive rain that doesn't stop? Not for a day, not for a season. Sometimes for years at a time, with no forecast, no warning, and no end in sight. The answer involves hidden underground water reservoirs, animal hide clothing engineered with shocking precision, entire civilizations built around a single river's flood cycle, and one deeply counterintuitive truth. For our ancestors, rain wasn't the enemy. Sometimes it was the entire reason civilization became possible at all. Let's get into it. The real danger of rain. Here's the first thing most people get wrong about surviving in the rain. It's not the wet part that kills you. It's the cold. Hypothermia, not drowning, is the #1 threat posed by sustained rainfall, especially in the cooler, temperate climates, where early humans spent most of their evolutionary history, before ever moving into warmer regions. Here's why. Water pulls heat off the body far faster than air does. Wet skin, wet clothes. They drain your body heat at a dramatically accelerated rate. A person can survive surprisingly cold air as long as they stay dry. That same person, soaked through, can slide into dangerous hypothermia in just a few hours, even in temperatures that wouldn't otherwise be life-threatening. So the first problem ancient humans had to solve wasn't, how do I stop the rain? That was often flat out impossible. The real problem was, how do I keep my body dry enough, often enough, to avoid that deadly threshold, season after season, generation after generation? Engineering the first raincoats. This is where clothing enters the story, and it's far more advanced than the cartoon image of a caveman with a pelt tossed over one shoulder. Ancient tailored animal skin clothing was carefully scraped, stretched, and treated through a labor-intensive multi-step process that delivered both waterproofing and real thermal insulation. A combination modern outdoor gear brands still pour massive research budgets into replicating today, often with mixed results. Worn fur side out, the hide shed water almost like a duck's feathers. The inner layer trapped warm air right against the skin. An early thermal envelope that modern layered clothing still essentially copies. Some cultures went even further, rubbing rendered animal fat into the leather over repeated applications, spread across days, creating one of the earliest waterproofing treatments in human history. None of this was accidental. It was generations of tested, refined, carefully passed down knowledge. Which animals gave the best hides, how to cure them properly, exactly how to cut and stitch a garment so water couldn't sneak in through the seams. Building a roof that actually works. Shelter mattered just as much, and ancient humans approached staying dry indoors with a level of engineering that rarely gets enough credit. Caves and rock shelters were the obvious first answer wherever geology allowed. They offered something rain simply couldn't beat, a naturally engineered roof, carved by time, with walls thick enough to stay dry no matter how long a storm raged outside. Where caves weren't available, people built their own solutions, steep, thickly thatched roofs, woven from reeds, grasses, or palm fronds, depending on what the local environment provided. That steep angle wasn't for looks, it was refined engineering. Water runs off a sharp slope fast, before it has any chance to pool and seep through. Layered like shingles, each row of thatch overlapping the one below. The roof channeled water down and off the edge before it ever reached the living space. Some cultures raised their entire homes on stilts to handle seasonal flooding, a solution that shows up independently from Southeast Asia to prehistoric Europe, built by people who never had contact with each other but landed on the exact same idea. If you can't stop the water, build above where it's going to end up. The Green Sahara. Now here's where the story shifts from survival tactics to something far bigger. Entire civilizations built around the rain, not just tolerating it. Roughly 14,500 to 5,000 years ago, the African monsoon pushed dramatically further north than it does today, soaking the region we now call the Sahara Desert. Lakes formed where there's now nothing but sand for hundreds of miles. Rivers ran where dunes now sit. Savanna grassland covered land that today can barely support scrub brush. Ancient rock art discovered across the region, first documented by a European explorer crossing the desert by caravan in the 1800s, shows swimmers, hippos, giraffes, elephants, and cattle herds. A world almost impossible to reconcile with the Sahara most of us picture today. At a rock shelter in southwestern Libya called Takarkori, archaeologists have uncovered nearly 5,000 years of continuous human occupation. Researchers have even pulled ancient DNA from remains buried there roughly 7,000 years ago, revealing a previously unknown North African genetic lineage that thrived through an environment we now assume has always been hostile to life. But the Green Sahara didn't last. Sediment records show the ending wasn't sudden. It was a turbulent back and forth, with droughts lasting 20 to 80 years recurring roughly every 160 years, punctuated by sudden bursts of extreme wetness that must have felt like false hope before the rains failed again. When the rain finally left for good around 5,000 years ago, people didn't vanish. Rise, fall, and groundwater. This same pattern, civilizations rising and falling with the rhythm of rain, plays out again with the Harappan civilization of the Indus River Valley. Around 4,500 years ago, strong monsoon rains let the Harappans farm vast floodplains and build sophisticated cities with organized planning and advanced sanitation systems that rivaled anything else on Earth at the time. Rivers that built civilization, then there's flooding, because endless rain eventually means rising water, and ancient humans developed remarkably similar flood management strategies in totally disconnected corners of the world. The earliest known systematic flood response dates back to roughly 7,600 BC. Communities along the Nile and along the Tigris and Euphrates in Mesopotamia didn't just tolerate seasonal flooding. Across continents, across civilizations that never even knew each other existed, it was the very thing that made survival, and eventually civilization itself, possible. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden history of how humans conquered the impossible. And let me know in the comments, which ancient survival trick surprised you the most?